Good morning.
Has it started?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, good morning. It's noon, but
Is it?
you knew.
Oh, my bad. Good afternoon. How are you?
You gotta say action or
I
something.
know action.
Sheesh.
We just go.
Apparently.
Yes, we do.
Okay.
How are you doing?
I'm well.
Okay. Do you mind introducing yourself?
I need to take my glasses off. I'm sorry. It's just gonna throw me off. I apologize. We're gonna rework the intro.
So yes,
I'm Yyounger.
mm-hmm.
It's Yyounger. Yyounger. It's not a typo. I get that often.
Galley on the drum.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you coming through, giving me some of your time.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
What you nervous about? It's just me.
I know, it's all the lights, camera, action for me. You know, I'm on the other side of the camera oftentimes, so.
Well, welcome to the front. As you and a couple other people said, I got to be on this side to do this interview, so.
Yeah.
We here.
I know, right? We're here. Maybe it'll help if I look this way. How about that? Yeah,
so,
no.
What do you do?
I don't do anything.
What is your official title?
Actually. I don't know that I have an official title that'll probably box me in, but what I do is personal and professional development.
Okay.
Not so much as personal because I try not to take on too many of those projects, but professional development.
Okay. And when you say professional development, which category would you put that in? Like which field of professional development?
So anything, actually. There's no particular field. What I do is I try to help people move the needle in their life.
Okay.
And that just looks different depending on the person. And so as of late, this last year-ish, I've been doing a lot of development in production space, which is new for me. But it just depends on what the person has going on. And so my goal is to help them develop that idea, that project, that concept, that whatever. And, you know.
Okay. So what got you started with that? Like what got you kind of veered in that direction?
Professional development. So I went to school for human resources, but I jumped into that because I was working in corporate banking. That's where I built my career, in corporate banking. And this bank that I worked for, they used to make us take these professional development classes. And every time we would get there, the person who led the class would always introduce themselves and start out saying that they had a degree in human resources. And I really admired them in the teaching and that kind of thing. So I was like, okay, so I need a degree in human resources. So I went and switched my major, which wasn't a big deal because I was doing business management. And so a lot of the human resource classes and the business management classes overlap. So I didn't even need to do a whole lot more to shift it. And so I shifted into that human resources space because I admired that development and training classes. And yeah.
Okay. So where are you really from? I feel stupid. I'm asking you stuff I already know, but they don't know. So.
Of course. Hey, y'all. So originally, I was born in Louisiana. Okay. But when I was about 2, my mom moved us to Los Angeles. And so that's where I was raised.
How long you been here?
So I've only been here 6 years. But I didn't come from like LA to here. I left LA when I was about 21. I moved to Minnesota. I was up there for about 7 years. I was in Chicago for a little bit, Indiana for a little bit, and then here.
Okay. You did a lot of bouncing around.
Yeah.
Okay. So how do you like being here, and what do you see as far as you doing the professional development? How do you see that since you've been here?
So I love South Carolina. Like, I feel like this is a place where I can build my forever home, if you will. People always ask me, what's your favorite place? Where's next? You know, yada, yada. But South Carolina, I think, is probably where I'll stay permanently. And my father's here, so that helps make that decision easier. But as far as the professional development here, this is actually where I've practiced it. So I went to school for human resources many years ago when I was still up in Minnesota, but I remained working in corporate banking for a long time. And then when we shifted from that, my ex-husband and I we moved out of the state to pursue real estate investment. So we gave up our corporate jobs for that. And then I came down here. And when I came down here, I doubled back and got certified as a life coach.
Oh.
That's where the personal development comes in. But again, I don't like doing that part. But I do have that certification. And then I got certified in, it's called mindfulness, but it's just another way of saying self-awareness. And so did that. But it happened because everybody that I was hanging out with would say things like, you got to be my life coach, or, and I'm just like, And so when the pandemic hit, it gave me time to actually sit down. And I sat down and I did the courses and passed the test, and I slowly started to operate in that space. I started doing little think tanks, that's what we called them. Small group sessions of people. We would plan, plot, and strategize. Everybody would have a different thing that they were working on, and then collectively we would plan, plot, and strategize and see how to get to the next step or whatever that might be. And so I did that for a little while and then spun off into some other stuff.
Okay.
So
so we're gonna fast forward. So what do you don't got to tell us who, but what are you currently working on in the professional development field?
So currently, so I've been doing some production consulting on a local show. That's what I'm currently doing. I left another group. I was doing that for about 10 months, but that's how I got in the production space, because when I was approached, it's like, hey, I need you to be my manager. And again, I help whatever that space is. And this particular group was in production. And so I started working in production, and that allowed me to network with some other people, which is what I'm doing now. And so I got a couple of things, a couple project management opportunities that I'm working on now. And again, I got this YouTube show with these teenagers. They are just the funniest. But working with kids, or teenagers rather, on a YouTube show, just again, behind the scenes doing production consulting. And I try to be clear about my title, because people want me to be their manager, and I learned the hard way that I don't manage people well. So it's like, I can help you to produce your show, I can consult on what you have going on, but I don't want to take on the responsibility to manage you.
Okay. So since you say that, obviously we've had conversations outside of this, but what would, for those who are watching and listening, how would you define a manager versus the responsibilities of a producer or a production consultant?
Yeah, so for managing, it's funny because when I was asked to be someone's manager, I was hesitant, and I was just like, I don't know about that. Let's just kick it. Let's just see how it goes. And I decided to do it against knowing that that's just not what I do. And I realized I don't like managing fucked up systems. So like if I go into, can we curse?
Yeah, you
sorry.
curse on this motherfucker.
No, sorry.
Yeah, I curse.
It's like going into an organization, for example, to manage is to manage what you currently have going on. And I don't like doing that. I like to go in, observe, and then, structurally try to change things. Not change, but develop. That's what it is. I want to help you develop a polished product, self, that kind of thing. And so in development, the receiver has to be willing to receive, right? They have to be willing to receive the instruction and the critique, and they have to trust my, judgment and my thing, not because I'm always right, but it's like, that's what you brought me in to do. Yeah. And so for me, it's like, when it comes to management, no. Like people, no, I don't want to be a manager. I don't like even being that responsible for people. And also, too, I realize that in development, it allows me to work with people on a short-term level. And I believe that I like that better than being locked into one thing for a long time. Because in development, it's like, okay, cool. What's your vision, right? Once I realize what your vision is, I want to help you get there. And then once I help you get there, I can move on to something else. I don't have to stay here, And not because the person is bad, but, I like to I don't know.
But what if they have aspirations to develop more projects with you? Like, say, for example, I'm just going to make up some shit. Say they want to start a show that's about sport. And once y'all have gotten to a certain point, then, and say they want to add some other things into it. Like, okay, a long time ago, everybody knows I got another podcast. So we have Nosy with Good Intentions. And there was a time when I wanted to add sports with good intentions. So say you are our production manager or developer?
Consultant.
Okay, cool. Production consultant, and we've branched out, got Nosy going really good, and we want to, and say you're like, well, that's what we were going to do, and you're done. But what if, hypothetically, me and you, we wanted to pivot and add other facets of the umbrella of what we're doing? Is that a bad thing? Not a bad thing, but
No, I think as long as the idea or the concept is growing and changing, then it gives me something to do. Because if we've already gotten you to your original goal, then what more should I do? But if now you have a new goal or a new direction, then sure, let's talk about that and see what I can do to help in that space. And so I think, to answer your question, I think I would be okay. I like freelancing because I like to be free. I don't like to be tied down, right, to anybody. But again, if we did a contract and again, it was constantly changing, I'll do the contract, but I wouldn't sign for a long time. Like my original contract, I signed for 18 months and I lasted 10.
okay.
And I was like, yeah, I know I said in my contract that I couldn't do it. And so it was like after 10 months, I was like, yeah, I got to shift it.
I think that's why I'm a team of me. It's not that I don't want to work with people. I just like to be in control. That's probably a bad characteristic, but
Nah.
But yeah. Okay, so damn, you done threw me off now with the contract. No, because I know stuff, but I don't want to talk about it on here. Okay, have you ever thought about branching out and creating your own production company?
No.
Or a production consulting company?
No. I mean, no, because I don't even want to do. So I think the craziest thing is my bottom line goal, bottom line is to be a woman of leisure. Like, I don't want to be, it's like when I think about creating a production consulting firm, if you will, that's a job. And
if you own it, you get to do what you want to do.
Who gonna run it? I said, no, well, it's still work. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Like, no. And then I have to rely. I think I realized I don't like relying on, I don't want to say social media, but like, for example, if I were to make a production, I have to go on social media to reach out to people and say, hey, this is me, yada, yada.
You got to sell yourself.
Yeah, I don't like that. I don't like that. It's like...
But some of that could come from word of mouth. Potentially.
But word of mouth is good. I like word of mouth. That's how I did a lot of the things that I'm doing now is I'll reach out to people directly. People who know me personally outside of social media, you know what I mean? They kind of know what I bring to the table and who I am and that kind of thing. But to sit down and try to sell myself and to say, hey, you should come to my production. Because truthfully, I don't care enough. I think that's what it is. It's like,
what do you mean you don't care? You care about accumulating clientele or?
I don't know how to... I don't like relying on people. So again, when I want to be a woman of leisure, my plan has nothing to do with a lot of other people being on social media because people are finicky. Social media is finicky. So I don't care enough to, I don't know, like if you want to work with me, then cool. You know what I mean? I feel like we could do great things. But I'm not really one to be like, oh my God, you should come and work with me. Like, I don't care enough to... I don't know how to quite say it.
Okay.
Like, put forth the effort to say...
So you ain't trying to do no customer acquisitions, basically.
I mean, I want to acquire some things, but the route that it takes, like, I don't know. Hey, come to my consultation. I
mean, you got to advertise. You can pay for social media ads, and you don't have to do anything. You just pay for them.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Or not.
Yeah, I ain't even want to be on social media. Like, oh, come follow me. Like, I'll follow people, but I don't even be asking them to follow me back because I don't care. Like, social media does not depict who I really am. Well, no, let me rephrase that. on social media, I want to be my whole self. The good, the bad, the ugly, the funny. Sometimes I make inappropriate jokes, right? And so if people come to my social media looking to say, let me see if I want to work with her, they might see something that I post and be like,
That's why you separate them. I got 3 Instagram pages.
And I don't want to do all that. 3 Instagrams? No. Oh, man.
Well, I got one for this. I got one for those, and I got my human being self. That my page.
Yeah, I ain't finna do all that. It's like, if you know me, I mean, and I'm professional. Like, I pride myself on professionalism. I built my career in corporate banking, and it was a very professional environment. So I'm very much professional, articulate. Right, except on social media. Articulate, but at the same time, I might say ain't and finna, and you know what I mean?
Can't say that at work.
And people might look at me and be like, she don't even know proper grammar. And it's like, actually I do. But I don't know.
Okay. So then what would be next after, and I'm not putting a cap on your current projects, but what would be your next step? Do you have something or a particular group of content? I don't know if that's the right word. I would say, do you have a particular lane of content that you want to be involved with specifically?
I have a couple ideas of my own that I want to pursue in terms of content creation, but I get weird when the camera comes on. And this? So it's like, yes, this. Clearly, I can't even look like.
But we having a conversation. They can just see it.
Yeah. So a couple of my ideas I thought about pursuing. It involves cameras and me, being, and I'm just like, What do you mean? Well, I thought about starting a YouTube channel.
Okay. What's that?
Random idea. Matter of fact, it was I was gonna do a YouTube channel about like Bible controversies. 'Cause I love the Bible, right? But I can see why it can be, contradicting in ways.
Give me an
And
example.
so, okay, my dad would love this one.
Oh Lord.
So, for example, in the Bible, Adam and Eve, right? And then they got kicked out of the garden. They had the kids, Cain and Abel. And then one got exiled, right? And then he went and got a wife, in the land of Nod, I think. And so where the hell, excuse me, Lord, did these people come from? And so having those conversations that churches don't usually have, you know what I mean? Because when we are at church, I don't know how you grew up, but I grew up in church.
I did.
And when you're in church, it's like you learn Adam and Eve is the first people. But when I read the Bible for myself, I feel like when God was doing the whole 7 days, first day this, there were some people in there, and he said, let us make man in our own image, and it was done right then and there. Adam and Eve didn't come until chapter 2. And so it's like, you know what I mean? Kind of picking out those things that can be controversial, and not because I want to create controversy, but
create controversy.
It's like worth talking about. And so I thought about doing something like that. But, nothing that has to do with production or development. It's just me kind of and some of my way out ideas and
that sounds pretty cool
stuff.
And I could be wrong. I'm not that well versed on the Bible now. I believe that a lot of what you're referring to, I believe he married his sister. From what I understand.
He did not.
Okay. I said from what I understand.
He did not.
Okay.
He did not, because, again, when you go back to creation, like, when the Lord said it and he said, he did it, this is good, there's people. When he said it, it happened. Then you fast forward to chapter 2, and then there's Adam and Eve. And he had them specifically in the garden, which was this isolated place. So I feel like all around outside of that, there was people. But the church don't be saying that.
I ain't gonna argue with you because I don't have enough knowledge.
It's not his sister. It's like, and he said that too. He was like, not even just him marrying, but like when he got exiled, he was like, people are going to kill me. There's a stain on me. And the Lord was like, nah, I'm not going to let anybody kill you. There's like, whoever kills him, blah, blah, blah. But it's like vagabonds. That's what he called them. But who are these people who are coming to kill you that possibly will kill you?
I don't know.
Cain and Abel, Cain and Abel.
Yeah, of course.
One slew the other and got kicked out. And he was worried that people was going to kill him. Who are these people that might kill you?
His other brothers and sisters.
Nah, nigga, no. Excuse me.
No?
Absolutely not. No.
Okay,
no.
so what's your hesitation on starting this YouTube channel? Even if it's not about that particular topic.
Yeah, procrastination.
But we all got phones.
Yeah, I'm a procrastinator.
You can literally be sitting on the toilet. We can sit on the toilet and text and scroll the internet.
Yeah, I know, and that's
You can start your channel right there.
Yeah,
Dropping a deuce.
yeah.
Well, that's not
No.
very late. Like that. I'm just saying.
I be procrastinating on things, and if I'm being honest about myself, procrastinating, and then yeah, I can be inconsistent when it comes to my own projects. Like if I jump on somebody else's idea, project, and help them out, then you get my full dedication.
Right.
But for me, on my own personal things, I kind of drag my feet.
But doesn't that go back to what I see it in various phrasings? But basically, we dedicate more energy helping others get rich than ourselves. I mean, it's phrased a bunch of different ways. But.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. And then for me, I'm going to always go to work for the most part. Like, I don't want to rely on the success of something like social media or a YouTube channel. Like, that's not my goal. Now, if I do it and it becomes successful, then it's like, all right, cool. But at the end of the day, I know I'm going to go to work, you know what I mean? To keep my lights and stuff on. Like, I'm not. So I also think that because I always have work to fall back on, that makes me a little bit more loose with the idea. Like some people, you know, it's like crunch time. It's like, I got to do something because my back is against the wall and I need to put this channel out and hope that it does well. That's just not me. I'm going to work at the end of the day. I work 2-3 jobs and, you know, so I don't have that pressure of I need to do it now, which probably isn't a good thing because no one should be working forever. But you know what I mean? Like, yeah, personally, I got some personal things that I can work on to push myself in a better direction.
No, I get that. I mean, there's times I don't do this with the intent of I'm going to be a rich YouTuber one day. I take my ass to work. I work 2 jobs, so but I do enjoy doing this, and I think you might enjoy doing it, even if it's for yourself.
I can see myself enjoying it. I just got to get past my nerves. Once the camera come on, I get nervous, and then I got to work through my lack of. I won't say lack of, but sometimes I question my worthiness. Sometimes I question my ability. Sometimes I question myself too much. And then I question myself right out of hitting the record button.
The first steps is starting.
Yeah.
Press record. It ain't got to be perfect.
And that's the thing. I have content in my phone that I've recorded of myself. I just,
Have you created the page?
Nah, no.
I mean, do you have a Gmail?
Yeah.
You got a YouTube?
Yeah. I posted 2 YouTube videos, maybe 3. Like when me and my ex-husband broke up, I did this sort of like vlog. I did a video to let everybody know that we were broken up.
You announced it?
I did.
You a thug. I ain't announcing nothing on the internet.
Because I just feel like it's so weird. Like we were together 10 years, we were married. Everybody knew us as a unit. We had a family, yada, yada. And so I just felt like it would be so weird if I just popped out with another dude. And it's just like, wasn't Ryan and Chris together? I mean, granted, it's not nobody's business. You could do whatever you want, yada, yada. But I'll be looking at people and I'm like, girl, wasn't you with so-and-so 2 years ago? Like, where was they at? Like, where did the transition go? And so for me, like, I'm pretty transparent. And so it was like, I jumped on and...
Did you post it?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, you're a gangster.
It was I sent it to people. Like, it was... primarily for my friends and family because I wasn't doing anything like professionally, but my friends and family to say, hey guys, like Christian and I are no longer together. So if you see me doing my thing, like
mind your business,
you know. And then I did another video. I did like a 12-week check-in after the breakup.
You gave an update?
Yeah.
You a super thug. Hell no.
I did a 12-week check-in. And so that was, I guess I thought at that time, I think I had the intentions of starting a YouTube channel and kind of sharing.
What's this link? I would like to see this.
Myself. I don't send it to you. It's still up there. I'm sure it
They don't take nothing down off YouTube unless you take it down.
Oh, I don't know. I ain't even really. I don't know. But
Lord.
So and you know what too? The editing is hard. Like that's what it was for me too.
Wink.
No, the editing is hard. So here's my advice to y'all: outsource if you can, okay? Because
I don't have that ability. My money gonna stay in my pocket.
But you do the editing fine though. So like, I don't believe in everybody taking on everything for themselves.
So if you could, would you do it? If
I could outsource?
No, if you could do the stuff you outsource for, would you do it, or would you still outsource?
I would outsource. Well, it depends on the thing. Like, I'm going to always consider outsourcing first because I don't want to do a whole lot. Like, I'm trying to be a woman of leisure. Like, I can't take on too much stuff. And so, yeah, I believe in outsourcing because, I mean, I know my strengths and weaknesses, and no, that wouldn't be it.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, because we've talked about it. My philosophy on outsourcing, I don't have a problem with outsourcing. I think that outsourcing should be strategic, if that makes sense. I don't think getting somebody to do the work, so for lack of better words, doing the work, is always a good thing because I think if you have a particular vision on what you see, what do I always say? Me and Kirk talked about it. You say me and you are brothers and sisters. We can grow up in the exact same house, that have the exact same parents, that have two different experiences. And so I think that's probably a horrible analogy, but whatever.
but it's true.
Yeah. So if you think about it, if you interpret what was shot and you see something totally different from what you outsource this other person to do, then what?
So I think when it comes to outsourcing, you want to be strategic and consider who you're outsourcing with. And outsourcing isn't necessarily giving the other person the work to do, it's partnering with someone else. And so if I'm outsourcing you, prime example, I wrote a book and I needed someone to edit it for me because I can't edit it myself.
Right.
And so I sent it to this girl up in Canada, and that was me, outsourcing the task, right? But she and I had several conversations back and forth until we got on one accord because I'm a Black woman, she was a white woman. And so she didn't understand the language, the culture. And so she tried to change my voice. Like, it didn't sound like me when she sent it back.
You a white woman.
No, she didn't make me a white woman, but she just didn't understand it. And so we talked about it. And so I told you know what I mean? And so when it comes to outsourcing, it's a relationship. You have to communicate. You have to, and if you and that person can't get on an accord, then they're not the person to do the gig.
Okay, that's fair. Because I did shoot a music video for a young lady. I think it's super fire. But my first edit, she said that some of the pacing was too fast. Not that it looked bad, but she wanted certain scenes to, she said, breathe. As in, don't let it flip to another scene or B-roll so quickly.
Yeah.
Which I like some of it. Because it was like, for example, there's a scene with her and her love interest, which is actually her boyfriend in real life. It's the same scene, but it's different cuts of that scene. So it changed a little bit fast. I thought it was cool. She didn't care for it, but at the same time, it's her vision and my vision. So I do understand what you mean, but okay. So when do you determine this is a bad person to outsource or partner with?
I think you decide early. You know, you don't just give it to anybody. You know what I mean? Especially the project, like, it's your baby, it's your project. You know what I mean? So you don't just go, hey, who want to edit my book? No, you don't do that. And so with this particular young lady, when we connected, she offered to do a sample edit for me for free. So I sent her a number of pages.
I'll give you a section and she
and she did a sample edit on that. And when it came back, I was like, oh, okay, you know what I mean? So we was able to...
I'm still Black.
Yeah, we was able to... sort of like an interview. Like, you got to see if this person is qualified to fit what you're looking for. And so she sent the sample edits back. And I was like, oh, yeah, I like that. The pricing was decent, yada, yada. And so we were able to move forward. So, yeah, when you're deciding, you just take your time and decide and don't be like, hey, who want to edit my project?
Right. Now, I think that's why I edit everything I do. It's not me thinking I'm better than somebody. It's just my fear of it not being what I envision.
Yeah.
Which is probably a bad characteristic, but whatever.
No.
What's the name of this book?
Dear Diary.
Okay.
Dear Diary.
What's it about?
Ooh.
We gotta promote. You got a shirt on, everything.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I forgot about that. So this is actually a book I wrote 8 years ago. 8 years ago, I was still in my 20s. And
8 years ago, I was not in my 20s. I was 31.
Okay. But I was still in my 20s, and I say that though because as I reread it now, I read it from a different lens. I'm 36 now. And so, but the book is about, society will try to box it into a genre of urban erotic. In short, right?
You're a nasty book.
Urban erotic. So the book is about the book has sexual components, but it's about a Black woman, successful business entrepreneur, married, and she's married, and her husband is having some problems, and she decides to play at the toy shop. That's what it's called. And so the toy shop is this concept where women. So it's ran by this old Creole woman named Miss Jackie. And so what she does is brings a woman's sexual fantasy to life. So whatever you can think of sexually, she can make it happen. And they're called play dates. And so the main character, married woman, having some issues in her marriage, her best friend introduces her to this concept of the toy shop. She rejects it initially because she loves her husband, yada, yada, but he's tripping, right? And okay, let me clarify that. He's not tripping. He ends up having a mental health issue that's undiagnosed. And so it looks like he's tripping, which he is, but again, it's undiagnosed. And so for her escape is these play dates at the toy shop. And so she writes about it in her diary, Dear Diary. And so that's why I say they would box it in to urban erotic, but it's mental health, it's entrepreneurship, it's Black families. It's so much more than that, but society, tries to box us in. And so, in short, they would put me, if it was Barnes and Nobles, for example.
Going in the Black section.
Exactly. They will put me in the Black section. They will put me in the erotic section. And I don't hate that, but I don't like the notion of being boxed in. It's just, I just so happen to be Black. That's why she's Black. Because I can't write as a white man, because I'm not a middle-aged white man. But I can sound like a Black woman, because that's who I am. I can speak to mental health because my ex-husband suffered from depression and anxiety, and I've been married, you know what I mean? So it's like, it's all these things, but, they box us in.
So some of it comes from some personal experiences.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
So were you ever afraid of being that vulnerable, even though you are not the main character? Was it ever intimidating writing from such a vulnerable space?
No, it wasn't intimidating. No, because I'm very good at creating story and fairy tale. So I can take a little bit of truth and twist it and over exaggerate it and build a story around that. Where I ran into some issues with the story is I start to struggle with my identity, because I wrote this 8 years ago, and fast forward, I had got saved, I had gave my life to God, but here I am writing smut, So it's like, is the Lord okay with this?
You might need his follow-up.
It sat on the shelf, for a minute, because I wasn't sure if I was even comfortable enough to say, to put this out there, because it's like, you the same person who, people are weird. It's like, you the same person. I love God. Like, you know what I mean? And so religion will try to box us in, right? And try to box us into this thing. And so I battled just with my identity of, should I even pursue this thing? Like, is this going to taint who I am, or who am I? Like, whatever. So it sat for a long while, and I finally decided to blow the dust off of it. And
So what's the next step with the book so we can read it?
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen it, but I'm just saying.
Forget you. So right now I have a deadline of June 5th for the editing, because remember, the story is written.
Right.
She edited it and sent it back with all her, critiques. And so now I'm going back in to rework the story. And so my deadline for finishing this developmental edit, because it has to go through rounds of editing, but developmental edit is June 5th. So once I'm done with that, I'm going to send it out, outsource it one more time.
To a different editor? Not editor.
Maybe a different editor. and then go eventually a couple more rounds of edits, because the first round is developmental. It has to make sure that the story makes sense. There's no holes. Does it sound so? For example, the story takes place in Chicago, because I lived up there for some time and I want it to sound authentic. I don't want people who live in Chicago to read this and be like, bitch, this is not Chicago.
Right.
You know what I mean?
They
And
be saying Joe up there and all that weird
you know what I mean?
stuff.
Well, it's not an urban book. Remember, she's a professional
She's in corporate
woman.
America,
Yeah. And so it's not that type of thing. But again, I want it to be authentic. And so that developmental round helps me to make sure that the story doesn't have holes. I don't want people to read it and be like, what the hell is going on?
Right. That don't sound like where I'm from.
Yeah.
I'm
so
in Chicago, yeah.
eventually get to grammar and sentence structure. That's the easy part.
Right.
And then I'm still on the fence about self-publishing versus joining a publishing company.
What's got you on the fence?
Because I feel like the story is too good I feel like if I go the route of self-publishing, it's not going to get the recognition that it deserves. And it's a great story. And so when you link up with a publisher, then there is money behind the rollout. And so that's where I'm kind of torn. It's like, okay, I can put my own money into the rollout, but I don't know that I have enough resources, not the money itself, but the people, the team to help to roll this thing out. And so I'm on the fence, but I mean, at the same time, it's 2024. There's a lot of options when it comes to self-publishing, but I don't want to self-publish a book just for 100 people to read it. I want it to be...
I was going to ask you about that, because people do wear that as a badge of honor. I'm a self-published author, but like you said, if 100 people read it,
right.
So basically the people that live within like a 10-mile radius read it.
Right.
And
your family and friends.
Right. And I don't know, and not saying that to discredit anybody. I'm just saying I don't think that's as much of an accolade. Even, yes, it is admirable to self-publish. But like you said, if it reaches 100 people and there's basically 8 billion people in the world, what was the point of it?
Right.
When you could have just sent them that through email and went on about your day. I'm just saying. Whereas if you go to a publishing, what's it called, a publishing house, and they at least say 5,000 people, that's a greater outreach. And it sounds like you would want people to read the story, not necessarily I want to make $1 million.
No, and no, I'm so passionate about the story, and I just feel like it's worth the recognition. And so my goal would be to be a New York Times best-selling author, you know what I mean? And that's also, too, where I'd rather put my efforts when it comes to leading to that road of being a woman of leisure. Like, I want to be somewhere writing more books. I can do that from across the world. You know what I mean? And I don't want to be relying on, am I local? Am I available to do production project? Well, yeah, I mean, all of that. But yeah, so I'm on the fence about the route of publishing the book.
Okay. So how do you balance getting the book out and also consulting for production, for different productions?
So I have myself on a schedule for writing. Tuesdays and Sundays are my writing days. And I do production on Mondays mainly. But I think with this new project I'm taking on, I'm going to shift my schedule a little bit, because one thing about me is when you get me on production, I'm like fully dedicated. And so if I got to rework some things, then I got to rework some things. And so this new project that I just took on, I think is going to require me to rework some things in my schedule. But yeah, no. And again, the book is written, so it's just really sitting down, reviewing, looking, making sure, yada, yada. So Tuesdays and Sundays, though, are my writing days.
Okay, why Tuesdays and Sundays?
That's just the day I have free. Yeah, because I work 2 jobs, too. In addition to, I got the podcast on Mondays. I got other things, you know what I mean? And so that's just kind of where my schedule has time.
Have you ever thought about doing a podcast of your own?
No. Because what would I talk about? Matter of fact, I actually got another girl. She reached out to me and she said, "Hey, you do podcasts?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" You know what I mean? Like, in what way?
What capacity?
And so she and I started talking, and I think she was trying to ask me to like be on a podcast with her, but I rejected that. But in turn, flipped it to the consultant, so I was able to snatch her up as a new client. Because it's like, I can help you with your idea, though. I'm not necessarily the one to jump in. Now, I'm going to be honest, I'll probably jump on the right project. You know what I mean? It's not a thing where it's like, oh, I would never. You know what I mean?
It's just the one that you would be excited
The
about.
right project. And so when she approached me and she gave me her concept, and it's like, oh, okay, that's cool. But not necessarily me. Like, I don't want to say yes to something too quick when I might have a different or better opportunity out there to, you know.
So how do you define if it is a good project that you want to be involved with?
Consulting wise? Oh, I will almost consult on anything.
Even if it's hot trash?
But see, that's the thing. If it's hot trash, you definitely need me. So it's like, it just depends on, I mean, I just feel like, I don't know. Sorry, is this rude?
No, you're fine. I mean, only reason why I asked that, because there's people who have thrown the idea to me, like, yo, let's do a podcast together. And some of them are good ideas, some of them are not. And some of them, I just can tell they're not going to follow through. So I'd be like, yeah, that's what's up. And I just pay it no mind because it never goes anywhere. So that's why I asked. So what would be the right podcast for you to be a part of versus consulting? What would bring you out from behind the camera?
Or
Concept.
Concept-wise?
Don't answer too fast.
I wouldn't want to box myself into one topic. And so I would need it to be something free in the sense of like, so this young lady, that was kind of her thing. She was like, oh, I want to do a podcast. And I don't even know if I'm able to, hey girl, say it, but she wanted to do a podcast.
Don't say her name.
Where it's like, you know, just talking about random things. And I'm okay with the random topic type of thing. But also at the same time, I'm not okay with people not listening. And so I don't want to jump on something that doesn't have traction or may not get traction. Because just like with the self-publishing, it's like, I value my words a lot. And so I don't want to just be talking and no one's listening.
There's 4 people listening.
And so it's like, I'm not about to do that every day.
But
like,
you got to start somewhere.
I know.
You don't start with 1 million subscribers.
No, you don't. You don't. And so
I don't have 1 million subscribers.
No, I just, no.
I'd like to have it, but I'm just saying.
Wouldn't we all?
Yes.
But I don't know. I don't know what the right project would be. I'm not against it. And it needs to be something where whoever the other person is, our energies match. And that was another thing when she approached me. I know her from something else, but I'm like, will we match energy side by side every day? Like, I can get very combative, controversial, and
is that by design?
That's just who I am. No, I'm just kidding. And so what I like is if we're in a debate, we're in a debate. Like when the camera is off or just when the debate is over,
it ain't no
we
beef.
cool. Yeah, it's like when the whole Cat Williams thing came out, I went back and forth with one of my guy friends heavily. And he didn't know when we seen each other in person, he was a little hesitant. And I'm like, nah, we still cool. Like, I don't got no beef with you.
But most people aren't able to separate the two. It's kind of like whether you like R. Kelly or not. A lot of people are not able to separate his music from his wrongdoing.
Right.
And so maybe that's probably, I don't know, I can't speak for him or her, but that's probably part of why he was like, oh, we good.
Yeah, I'm like, nigga, we good.
Yeah, because that was a moment of whatever. And we good.
So I'll need something that allows me to be hot, which I stole that acronym from someone else, but it's humble, open, and transparent. Like at all times.
That's pretty clever.
I know, right? Shout out to Michael Todd. No, it's
Who's that?
That's a pastor of Transformation Church. And that's kind of one of the things that he stands on is being hot. He like, no, we hot at this church. It's hot.
Open and transparent?
Open and transparent, yeah. Humble, open, and transparent.
Oh, humble. I'll be listening, active listening.
Yeah, so that's how I am. And so it's like, you can't be mad if we're on different sides of a topic. And so again, when taking on a project like joining someone on a podcast, I need to make sure that our energies are going to work well together.
Okay, so let me ask you this. So as far as partnering, because you mentioned it earlier, what do you think two people, let's say it's just two people, Do you think that the two people partnering when it's content creation, do you think they need to be equally yoked?
What do you mean equally yoked?
I guess equally invested, as well as, do they have to have the same skill set? Do they have to invest the same money, same time?
So strengths and weaknesses,
Mhm.
right? You need to assess each person's strengths and weaknesses, and everyone, you might not do the same thing, but I do agree that the two should be contributing. I won't necessarily say equally because
I don't think you can perfectly balance 50-50.
yeah, your strength may be different. My strength may be sitting here talking, looking cute, and it's giving a vibe, you know what I mean, to somebody else. They like, bitch, you ain't doing nothing. And then you behind the scenes, you got all the editing and making us look good or whatever. And so it just depends. I think it just depends on what works for that group, that dynamic. Like I worked with a trio for that 10 months, and you got one person who was just a whole lot of energy, you know what I mean? And then you had the other two who was like less energy and less of a contributor even, but it worked for them, you know what I mean? So to each his own.
Okay. That's part of my hesitation with working with people.
What?
Being unequally yoked.
You unequally yoked now.
Oh yeah, it's me against me.
But you want it that way though. So for your other podcast, you do the production side, the editing side, but you want to.
Yeah, because we agreed for that in the very beginning, but he's always contributed equal amount of effort. I made a post the other day, I said, you don't have to lift the same weight as me, just put forth the same effort.
Yeah,
and he does, and I appreciate that.
It might look different to different groups, you know what I mean? So it might look like, oh, Michael's behind the scene doing everything, you know what I mean? And somebody will be like, oh, this nigga ain't doing shit, you know?
He definitely is equally committed.
And that's for y'all to know that works, you know what I mean? Just like a marriage, like, nigga, you don't know what we got going on, but if it works for us, then it works for us. Who are you to say, you know? So.
Hot, humble, open, transparent.
Yeah.
There we go. That's pretty clever.
That's what you're going to get from me at all times. And that's the thing. Sometimes I'm too transparent. And so when somebody see a post on my social media of me thanking my mom for not having an abortion, they might be like, yeah, that's a little weird. Like you know
weird to me. I was almost aborted.
I was almost aborted too.
My dad was like, nah, we're not doing that.
My dad too. Shout out to dads.
That nigga ain't hearing that.
Yeah. My mom was just like, hey, bro, we go to the chop shop, you know?
So I appreciate not being aborted.
Yeah, I appreciate not being aborted. But I'll post that. I'll tag my mom. I'll post pictures. And so for somebody who look at they be like, yeah, this is a little weird. And
I don't think it's weird. I wouldn't post it on Facebook.
But I'm transparent in that way. Like,
did you have an epiphany in that moment? Or
yeah, I was sitting there like, I literally could have been aborted. Like,
well, y'all technically could be.
Nah, my mom.
I was about to be.
My brother and I are Irish twins, so we're 11 months apart. When my mom got pregnant with me.
What's an Irish twin? I thought Irish twins, you had the same birthday but different year.
No, Irish twin is being born so close together. So like my brother and I are 11 months apart. So when he was 3 months old, my mom got pregnant with me. You got a 3 month, you got an infant, and now you pregnant again. And so that's where the Irish twin. So my mom like, and I'm the fourth child. She like, bruh, like, look.
I had enough of this.
So my dad like, nah, I'm my dad's first and only. And so he was not having it. Not having it. Bought her a house and did everything he needed to do. And
I need me a husband. Somebody buy me a house.
Man, you know what I mean? Or not bought her a house. Let me rephrase that. But she was living in the projects with my grandma and 3 other kids and my auntie. You know what I mean? It was it was a projects and it was crowded. And when my mom got pregnant with me, my dad was like, nah, let me get you a spot. And he got her a spot. Yeah, shout out to my pops. But I was almost aborted.
Whew.
Yeah.
I feel you. Lord. So what's coming next for Yyounger?
I am just gonna keep working on my book. I can be a little bit more aggressive with it. And February was just a weird month, no, a busy month rather, because I had a bunch of other stuff. So working on my book and honestly just attaching myself to other people's project here in the city. I got a few of those happening, and so my goal ideally is as I continue to work with people locally. The networking continues to come and it keeps affording me more and more opportunities. So far, I'm actually pretty set I won't say through the summer, but up into the summer. And so ideally I'll pick up something else that'll carry me through the summer and maybe even into the fall.
Okay.
So yeah.
Sounds amazing. So how do people find you so they can get you, they can hire you to be that
Don't look for
consultant?
me. No, I'm just kidding.
That's horrible.
Don't look for me. No, honestly, that's the thing. So on social media, Instagram, I am the People's Coach. So it's ThePPLS Coach. TikTok, Instagram, the People's Coach. Snapchat, even to the People's Coach. Facebook, I am Yyounger more. But that's where I am just me. So if you follow me on Facebook, you have to be prepared. It's just me. So I don't have anything fancy to say.
Just me.
If you feel like, you want to reach out to me, go right ahead. If not, that's cool too.
I want to say thank you for coming to sit down with me. And I appreciate y'all watching and listening. And we out of here.
Thank y'all.